Managing Multiple Departments with Ease, CFO's Playbook. For this, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Sandhya Sriram. Giving a brief introduction, she joined Narayana Health as a Group CFO in December 2021. Prior to joining Narayana Health, Sandhya has close to 20 plus years of experience in Unilever and Wipro groups, performing a broad spectrum of roles such as business partnering, audit and risk, ombuds, ethics and program, digital transformation, controllership, financial planning and analysis, shared services, technology design and implementation, etc. With this, please welcome Ms. Sandhya with a huge round of applause.
Can you hear me? After hearing Mrs. Sriram speak, I was almost thinking I should run away from the back door and cancel, because everything I wanted to speak to today, she is so eloquently covered. I was thinking maybe I should change my presentation and talk about something else. But please bear with me, there will be a lot of repetition. I may not be as eloquent as her, and please bear with me for the repetition. I think after this, for the torture of going through me, they will allow you to go for tea. So maybe you can put up with that. So the topic that has been given to me is how do you manage multiple departments with ease as a CFO? Typically when wanted to do an icebreaker, I thought the whole day you'll have been hearing sessions, and by this time, it will all look the same. So I wanted you to do some hard work on your eyes and try to find words inside this maze. The only tip being, these are the typical topics that come to mind when you talk about a CFO's role. Anything that you can catch? Consultancy, yes. Auditing, yes. Accountancy. Yeah. Fund manager. This I did on purpose, I did it ulta. So yes, investments, business operations, banking. No, but if you really look at the role of a CFO, like Mrs. Sriram said, it's really a madhouse out there. If you think about what the role of the CFO is, she said co-CEO, I'm going to use the word co-pilot. It's a terminology we've used to use in Wipro. Really the role of the CFO is a co-pilot role, someone who owns the outcomes of the business, who drives value for the business, who is able to silently stand behind and see the business succeed. So I have some few threads on different, because my topic is about the playbook, how you work with different stakeholders. So I've picked up a few stakeholders and I'm going to share some aspects of what it is to work with some of the stakeholders. So the sales and marketing, this is a common thing, especially in FMCG companies. They say that half of the advertising is wasted, and the trouble is that we don't know which half. And this is exactly you feel when you land up in a conversation with a sales and marketing head. Oh my God, so much money is being spent on this conference by UBS. I'm sure the salesperson of UBS would be hearing from his finance head saying, what is the value have you got from running this conference? So some of the things that, it's co-owning the goals. It's always easier said than done, because many times you feel that there are very aggressive sales targets that get promised for the spend that you incur. There is always an overrun on the spend and underrun on the target. So, you're always burnt with those experiences that, I have always tried to play along and tried to be a partner, but then, it is not delivered. But unless we start co-owning through the process, understand what is the reality of the business. So if it's an FMCG business where I've worked a significant part of my career, the reality of the business is that like half the advertisement is wasted, but then there will be another half which will deliver 2x returns. So unless we understand the reality of the business and we this quadrant, this has not performed. You could have done 200% in another quadrant, but this quadrant has not performed. But if it's your own goal, you will rationalize it properly. So somewhere that ownership, P&L is a joint responsibility, which means we have to create that culture in the organization where the sales and marketing team co-own and understand the P&L. At the same time, understanding what the customer wants is also a joint responsibility. Most of the time, finance teams we see don't own or try to understand customer outcomes. Why is something important to the customer? What does the customer feel, the consumer or the customer feel about what we are delivering? That is the day in, day out pain of the sales and marketing teams. So owning the customer outcomes is also a joint responsibility. The big role, of course, is the guardrails. We do play that role very elegantly. But what we've been seeing with many of the startups of late is that, it's very difficult, especially in digital startups, it's very difficult for CFOs to come in and say, oh, please don't do this. In traditional companies, at least you have an SOP, which is you can't do this. So you can at least blame an SOP and say, as per this board mandate, this SOP, you can't do this. I have to go to the board, to the audit committee. In most startups, I don't know whether we have that flexibility. So sometimes the CFOs actually struggle on how to maintaining the guardrails. I think it is a soft aspect, a relationship aspect, but at the same time, it's an aspect of what we spoke in the past. We have to take joint responsibility. We have to assess failures of the past, own that responsibility and drive that outcome. And one of the important aspects of being able to take joint responsibility is learning emerging themes. Many times we see that CFOs stand on the periphery of the digital bus. Everyone likes to talk about digital, but if you actually put many of today's CFOs in a room and they tell them that, these are the digital marketing initiatives, can you tell me how are you going to rank them? How are you going to measure the effectiveness of these initiatives? How is it actually reaching the consumer? It's a very high level theoretical knowledge. Now, unless we actually get on top of the digital bus, understand the world of digital, understand the emerging themes, understand how technology is disrupting our business, we will not be able to put the guardrails around. So there is a role that the CFOs have to, it's a more an internal facing role on how you equip yourselves. And some tips can be that you actually try to do small things yourself. Like for example, say if your digital marketing team is running a digital marketing campaign, you actually sit down with them and be one of the assistants in that team who actually delivers that campaign. The way you will learn doing it, you will never learn being taught in a classroom on a board or, on some PPT or in some classroom or in some, session across the table. Likewise, if it's a tech company, technology, you try some coding. You actually try and sit down with your coders and try to code some aspects of your solution and try to go through some of the MVPs that they are building. Take one small MVP and live the life cycle of that MVP and see how the team actually goes through that life cycle. And our ability to then understand what's actually happening in the business and then be able to comment on what are the guardrails that will work may improve. Now, supply chain. So the thing about supply chain is that it is a firefighting role. It's very easy for us to go back to them and say, why did you airlift this product? You increased cost by so and so and so. Or why did you, maintain 3-4 more days of inventory? It is a firefighting role. Supply chain is an exceptionally firefighting role. As finance people sitting in our corner offices, like ma'am said, it's very easy to say that, I have looked at your numbers and your numbers are looking bad. Unless you really understand the life of that guy and have empathy for your supply chain head, we will never be able to relate to supply chain. One of the ways is to stand on the shop floor and see the process. And when you say stand on the shop floor, for the manufacturing business, it is going into the factory, seeing what's happening in the factory, understanding the operations of the factory, not once, like the CFO visits the factory, says hi to everybody, takes photos and comes back, but periodically. For example, if there is a trial that is happening, where they are reducing, say, the width of the packing material. It's a transit trial where you'll actually see how it's manufactured and how it goes. Participate in the trial. Ability of that initiative landing, we will be able to assess much better. Coming into IT, trying to see maybe supply chain you can relate to the delivery team or the fulfillment teams. If you actually understand their life, you will definitely be able to add more value. Of course, you are the KPI keeper. You know, we have to measure KPIs. Supply chain people love KPIs. You know, the best way for them to manage the CFO is to confuse the CFO with 2000 KPIs. It is very important, and if there is a supply chain person in this room, I'm sorry for you know, making this comment, but I think really as finance people, our ability to bring attention to what is most important for the organization, what are the KPIs I want to look at. You can tell the supply chain head, very good, look at your 2000 KPIs, but I want to look at these 5 KPIs. I want to understand them, I want to move them, because that is what impacts my top line, my service levels, my bottom line. So our job is to simplify the KPIs in the organization. You know, having shared cost, working capital, quality goals, we will always have shared cost goals. We will have working capital goals. We have to have shared quality goals as well between finance and supply chain, because it's a package, and we have to ensure that high quality delivery happens. Now comes the most coveted business partner, IT. You know, sorry. Now, IT and business are intricately linked, as we know. So we cannot measure IT by technology outcomes, cost outcomes, efficiency outcomes. Only measure for IT is business outcomes. What will my customer, my ability of my product to reach the customer improve if I do this technology? How will I impact the life of my customer if I do this? How will it improve the life of my supply chain head if I do this? We have to co-measure, drive IT teams in measuring business outcomes. That's the only way. Of course, we have to understand cost drivers, but in today's time, equally important, understand TCOs. They will say that, okay, I have got the solution, it's absolutely on the cloud, you have to pay 10 rupee per license, like that. Then who's going to pay for the cloud cost? You have to ask that question. Every solution that comes today the solution head, camel head will come, and behind the full body of the camel will come. So it is very important for us to understand what drives the cost of the solution, but what is the total cost of operations of the solution, including inefficiencies or efficiencies it will drive inside the organization. So for example, if you have to set up one more headcount at your SOC because you have implemented the solution, then that's also a TCO. So it's important that we have that perspective. The negotiation life cycle, most of the time, when it's the final, the CIO would have done his entire negotiation, figured out the partner, the solution has to, like, the contract has to be signed like 10 days from now, and in comes the CFO. And you're expected to create that magic miracle to change the, you know, pricing. So already the person who's selling the solution to you will keep a CFO buffer. They will know that with the CIO, I am at 110, then I can finish the CFO at 100. So then they will come into the room and very grudgingly tell you, yeah, for your relationship, for this one, I'm giving you 10. And you will also feel, I got 10% benefit, you know, for the company. But unless you participate through the negotiation cycle and see what is the journey, what are the components being negotiated, what are the drivers that are being negotiated. Many times I have seen during IT negotiations, it is not about the solution, the software, the cost, all those are, you know, we normally on the rate, we normally negotiate on the rate. Is the license 100 rupees, 90 rupees? It's immaterial. Really the cost driver you should know. You know, why 400 licenses? Why not 300 licenses? What is your customization? In fact, in one of the negotiations, I told them, please open up and show me all the customizations you will do, what will actually happen to the end consumer, and who's going to use this customization. We dropped 80% of the customizations that was there in the original design when we did that. So many times partnering through the negotiation, blueprinting life cycle will help us. add value to the cost that we are bringing into the organization. Now finally, IT is not an Amazon shopping cart. You know, today you just step out with somebody from your, now this is a finance group, it's okay, but you step out of the seminar, you have a bill of some 2 crore in your inbox tomorrow. That many solutions are being sold to you every day, and it's all good, it's nice, there are so many solutions available, they are solving problems for business, we should look at those solutions, but then we are the conscience keepers to say what is relevant for the business and what's relevant for the outcomes that we want. Because it's very easy to say, I want to try this, I want to try this, and sometimes integrating 10 solutions is costlier than the solution itself. So our ability to keep that overall conscience on IT is very important. Quality, I think in quality there is no cost benefit. We cannot do a cost benefit analysis on quality, but in quality we have to tell the difference between holy cows and non-negotiables. Sometimes certain practices are holy cows. This is how we will do. In FMCG, we used to have this concept of excess giveaway, which is to say that there are certain statutory requirements that when your pack is picked and measured, it has to weigh within a variation of X% of the pack. So sometimes because of moisture, because of atmosphere, the pack quantity will change. So there will be an excess giveaway. It is an absolute example of holy cow. I used to do 5% excess giveaway. 10 years back, I will continue to do 5% excess giveaway. So, and some of them are non-negotiable. For example, the thickness of the carton, sometimes, if you reduce it too much, it can break. You can have supply chain damages, leakages. So some are non-negotiable, some are holy cows. Some non-negotiables become holy cows and vice versa. So to be able to tell the difference, I think that's where we can add value in quality. And again, it comes down to understanding the business and being part of the business life cycle. So then the Chinese whispers and the power of the root cause. So here in quality especially, when something goes wrong, everybody will say something about it. Most of the time it will be one anecdotal feedback. Why this particular quality issue happened? Oh, there is a problem with the packaging, we need to invest more on packaging. Oh, there is a moisture problem, we have to invest on some drying capability. Oh, there is a, we don't have enough people in the coding team, we'll have to put 5 more people and write a better code. So there will always be Chinese whispers. One thing we as finance people have to ensure is the power of the root cause. Why this? Go to the last level, find out the root cause of what exactly happened and solve for that root cause. Because it's easy to work on anecdotes. It's very difficult to analyze a problem to the root cause and then solve that problem. So that is a role we can play as partners to quality. Living the ethos. I think the most important aspect is we have to live the ethos of the organization. Most organizations live with the ethos that they want to provide utmost quality to the consumer. What matters to the consumer for that price point, they want to provide that. And we have to own that ethos. It's as much our responsibility of what the quality team aspires to provide to the consumer, as much as that's that of the quality team. It's not just our responsibility to manage costs and ask questions. Now this is an interesting one, CFO and HR. Now investing in people is serious business. We have to be party to the investment that the HR team wants to make in people. It is not a budget decision. Every individual, at least machines have not taken over yet, we still matter. Every individual matters. Every individual brings value to the table which is multifold of the cost that you pay them. Individuals are not cost decisions. We have to understand the value that the individual will bring, and we have to enable the right investment in people. And again, performance management and target setting is not a cost-saving exercise. It's a business outcome exercise. But the other aspect of business outcomes is that we can't put 200 KPIs on performance management. We can't say that, okay, we will pay you this, but if you don't do this, then you get a multiplier of 0.2. Then on that, if you don't do this, you get a multiplier of 0.3. Finally, nobody understands that calculation. That guy will say, I'll go and sell, something will come in my bank account at the end of the year. So we have to have a sharp measurable performance management system. At the same time, it is not a cost management exercise, it's an outcome management exercise. And we sometimes think that we are the data people, okay? But if you think about it, there is phenomenally more data in HR than we have in finance. They will track everything. They will track the time at which you entered the office. They will track how many times you sneezed. They will track how many, how many people are attending what health initiatives. There is just phenomenal data. If you actually sit down with the HR team, there is a lot of value in mining that data and connecting it with what you want to deliver as value for the business and be able to come with a cohesive plan. And I have personally felt through my career, CHRO is the best ally to a CFO. You get a 360-degree view of the organization from a financial point of view. The CHRO gets a 360-degree view from a people point of view. If you can continuously exchange notes with each other, the way you will be able to steer organizational outcomes will be exceptional. Now finally, my last segment, which is how do you be the co-pilot, some softer aspects. Ma'am covered a lot of them, but I'll cover a few of them. I've heard, I'm a big fan of Ma'am 𝗙𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏. She introduced me to this concept called intrapreneurs. We are all working in an organization. We all think that we are employees. We are not employees. We are intrapreneurs, entrepreneurs. We have the power to drive outcomes in the organization. The minute we enter into our office, we enter as this is my business, my house. I drive the outcomes here. I am responsible for what happens. I will grow this organization. The more we take the role of an intrapreneur in the organization, we will be better CFOs. This is a little bit of a, I like this example. See, we normally, what do we use sugar for? Sweets, coffee, in sweeten anything. But if you think about it, if you put 1 teaspoon of sugar in the way you keep flowers, the sugar actually keeps the flowers fresh. Likewise, if you keep sugar water in the windowsills, it catches flies. Similarly, if there are coffee stains, these are all the advantages of managing a kitchen. If you keep them, you can use sugar to clean coffee stains. Many times we think, I am the sweetener, I am the finance head, I am supposed to deliver the P&L, I am supposed to manage the board and the audit, I am supposed to manage the auditors. Our role is much, much, much beyond. The role we can play is the role we want to imagine we want to play. In one of my roles, actually, we were trying to set up a building, and we were trying to see what is the best way to optimize costs, etc. So then I sat down with the architect and I said, teach me CAD. I want to learn how do you design on CAD. So I actually learned CAD in that role, and we designed together. So the architect would come into this thing saying, this is fancy, this is what will give you space, this is what will give you fire exit, this is what will give you all the fancy jargons they use. And I will go into this thing, we should get all this, but I still want to have a better utilization of space. So in some form, I think it took us some time to come to some sort of a agreement, but at the end of that exercise, we came up with the maximum efficiency per person, meaning the square feet per person was the lowest, but the efficiency or the look and feel of that office that we built, everyone came and said, this office is so spacious. Though the office they came from had a higher square feet per person than what we had built. But you can't be the only person who can draw, the architect can't be the only person who will come, but if you bring it together, you will be able to create value. And this happens across business, in every walk of life. It's about the role we assume. Now, the other thing which helps us manage people better is single source of truth. In many organizations, CFO is that custodian of that big Excel sheet. The most important guy that people have to come to. Why? To know the number. You just think of it, if you are the person, I'm sure, I don't want to calculate, but at least 10,000 per hour, for the finance team, can I say? You think if someone has to spend an hour with you understanding an Excel sheet, it's 10,000 rupees down the drain. So creating a good information system which is self-sufficient, stands on its own feet, nobody needs to ask the organization any information, is a big enabler in building trust in the organization. I want to take the example of NH. I joined NH last year, and as I came in, I was asking, saying, where are my Excel sheets? You know, it's your source of power, right? So I was like, where are my Excel sheets? I have not got any Excel sheets. I don't have a handover. How will I manage? Where is the, you know, past 6-quarter revenue, margins, cash flow, etc. And everyone said, no, go to the BI and see. Now I said, BI is okay. Give me the Excel sheet. You know, and then I realized that all data in NH was on BI. Nobody has, I'm going to be a year in the company, I still don't have a single Excel sheet on my laptop I can open and show. Everything is on the BI. We use, before reviews, as soon as the month closes, all the data goes on the BI. The business head sees the same data as I see, as the unit head sees. And when we do the reviews, we open BI and we review. Creating a single source of truth builds trust, focuses organizational energy on what matters, which is analyzing and then taking corrective action, then reconciling numbers. I have sat in so many reviews where people say, I'll just take 5 more minutes, where people say that, you know, this, your number versus my number, instead of seeing what the problem is at hand which we have to solve. Solving for user problems, many times we create processes which create problems. So for example, travel expense, my favorite item. We keep saying self-service, self-service, self-service. What is self-service? Your sales, your per hour cost of the sales head is significantly higher than the per hour cost of that accountant in your team. There is no benefit in shifting work from your accountant to your sales head. We have to solve for problems. What are the actual problems they are facing? Are you making payment process difficult for them? Solve it for them. Are you making collection, information about collection difficult for them? Solve it for them. Are you making your procurement team struggle to know what has got paid? Solve it for them. Solve problems which are within your control, make life easier. It will build trust. It will build that sense of cohesiveness and people will start working together. And hail reviews. We have to have structured reviews. While they say that, you know, we are, in many organizations, we are an informal organization, we hate meetings, we hate reviews, I am a believer that we should build a rhythm. Have a cost, price, revenue, capex, whatever is important, not like a review all the time, but have one reasonable structured review, proper pre-reads, already people know what is being discussed, discussing outcomes, because effective communication cycles can only be built when organizations are very complex. There are multiple people doing multiple things. There has to be structured reviews. At the same time, there has to be unstructured feedback. We have to go visit as much as possible to our units, to our operations, see what is happening, pick up grassroots communication, speak to people. Normally, when I go into the units, I will spend some time with the lift operator. I will spend some time with the janitor in the restroom. Kya ho raha hai, kya baat ho raha hai. You know, these are people that will have a lot of on-ground information, which you can also, of course, filter to what is important. But while you create your unstructured mechanisms, structured reviews are important. But finally, I just want to show one. After all this structure, planning, everything, it's not coming, my video. The audio also is not coming. It's okay, I'm out of time also. I've already heard a bell, I don't want to, this video. It's okay, it doesn't play. I'll play.
My new 5-year plan looks like this.
Well, how can you have a 5-year plan when you don't know what will happen in 5 minutes?
We have this room now.
Ah, bad timing. Shoo, shoo.
So while after all this planning and this and that, and eventually the practicalities of life come to play, and end of the day you have to manage them as well. So in summary, I come to the end of my presentation. The role of the CFO is not just about the numbers. I think more eloquently articulated by Mrs. Sriram, it is stepping about the traditional definitions, add real value. We are intrinsically more tuned to add value. We choose to untune ourselves. We should not stereotype ourselves and see how we can actually unleash our true potential. And finally, you know, if you are truly embedded in the business and you co-create with the business, there is a phenomenal joy in creating. And the joy of creation is an experience to live for. Instead of being stressed about the balance sheet and the auditor and the P&L and the cash flows, we can also enjoy some of the joy of creating something and feel happy about it. That brings me to the end of my session. Thank you for giving me this time and putting up with me. If there are time for questions, I can take, or we can catch up outside.